We are one step closer to the regular season. It's almost here. We are still excited here on Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. What's going on, everybody? Chris Perkins. I'm the host of this show. I am your Dolphins columnist for the South Florida Sun Sentinel. That is David Furones, my cohort. He is your Dolphins writer for the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Furones, we're going to be back on Tuesday in 4 days. Do we have enough material here?
That's always the big concern. No, of course we have enough material. The Dolphins always give us enough material. And we're getting ready for the start of the regular season. So that's plenty to work with right there. We got to get you hyped up for the season. Whether you are hyped up for it or not, we're here to bring it.
That's right. That's right. Everybody's got to be hyped up right now. We welcome all of our viewers on YouTube. We remind everybody that if you missed any part of this show, you can catch the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you find your podcasts. Also, we would like for you to sign up for our weekly newsletter, The Fans Flash, which you can get by clicking on the QR code that will be shown on your screen. Look. It's a big episode today. We've got to talk about the Dolphins offense, whether it is ready for the season opener in week 1 in Indy. We're going to talk about the front seven. They ought to dominate Daniel Jones and the Indy offense. So we'll dive into that a little bit deeper. We're also going to talk about the youngsters and the draftees. That is the future for the Cowboys, for the Dolphins. I have Micah Parsons on my mind. So we will talk about that. We've also got some other Dolphins news. I'm sure you're aware that Ryan Crow, the outside linebackers coach, was arrested. So we will touch on that. In better news, we're going to have our Furones bonus. We can't go without the Furones bonus. He's going to talk about, what are you talking about, Furones? The new players playing key roles against Indy, right?
Yeah, very much newcomers and guys who have barely practiced with the team, like Darren Waller and Rasul Douglas, possibly getting thrust into immediate roles. Riley Patterson might have to kick a game-winning field goal or otherwise very important field goal in his first game, his first week plus with the Dolphins.
That's it. That's it. As we always say around here, there's an ocean of possibilities. Let's dive in. There we go. I like it, baby. I like it. So, Furones, before we really get into the Dolphins offense, let's just touch on the Ryan Crow situation. The reports are that, and we've got a story up on sunsentinel.com right now, written by you and Rafael Almeida, one of our news writers, about Ryan Crow being arrested early this morning in Fort Lauderdale on a domestic battery abuse charge. Not many details are known. What I will say is this: this is kind of more drama before a season opener for the Dolphins, right? Tyreek Hill last year before the Jacksonville game getting detained by police. We remember the Chris Furster incident, the assistant coach who was on video sniffing a white powdery substance. We remember that Tennessee Titans game, right? That was 7 hours because of storms and lightning delays. The game that with Furster, that was delayed by a hurricane that ended up not hitting us, but was coming close. So just kind of another distraction before a season opener. Do you think this will have a major impact for Furones? I think it's unknown right now what the impact is going to be, but it's just more distraction before a season opener. It wasn't a huge problem last year. The Dolphins came back and Tyreek came back with a dramatic late game touchdown. Do you think this will be a distraction for the Dolphins?
And you threw out all those examples. I'll give you another one. Lawrence Timmons going AWOL right before the opener. I wasn't on the beat, but I remember your reporting. You were with Omar Kelly on the beat. I was already with the Sun Sentinel. That was a wild story too, along with all those others you mentioned. All these in recent memory. I mean, I immediately flash back to Tyreek Hill. I'm pulling into the stadium. Now, I didn't go the same way as where Tyreek was detained, but another media member had just parked right before me, and I'm getting out of the car. He's getting out of the car, and he's saying, man, did you see Tyreek Hill getting arrested? He meant detained, but and I said, what? Tyreek Hill? I mean, are you sure? He's not someone that's there every day. It was a TV person and was saying, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Tyreek right over there. And then, as we're walking up, and then all of a sudden I look up. Some fans had already thrown up some videos on it. I was like, okay, yeah, that's him. I mean, unless this is a very big AI deepfake.
Right.
And then immediately getting it confirmed, going up in the press box and writing that. So, again, right before a season, this weekend, this Labor Day weekend, week 0 kind of in the NFL, in between the preseason and the regular season, always one where teams kind of have to worry about it. Guys are either go back home, maybe they take a vacation, they have some free time, and after just blocking in all training camp, and then you never know what could happen before a season. So, unfortunate again, and obviously a very serious incident, and Crow is being placed on administrative leave. We don't know yet who will fill his duties as he's running a very important unit and one that's expected to do big things with Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson, the addition of Matthew Judon. So, and obviously the pass rush is going to be huge for the Dolphins this season. But as far as the distraction, I think the team can just reconvene after the weekend, get through it, find how they're going to reassemble the staff either in the time being or for the long haul, depending on how this turns out with Ryan Crow, and take it from there and prepare for the Colts.
Yeah, I think they should be able to get over this. As someone said here in the chat, a line that Mike McDaniel always uses: adversity creates opportunity, right? So we'll see what the Dolphins can do with this. Let's get on to our first segment here, and we're going to talk about whether this Dolphins offense is ready for Indianapolis. And kind of the jumping off point for me here, Furones, is not really with Tua or Mike McDaniel. It's with a lot of the missing personnel. It's been a disjointed offense that we've seen all of training camp. Tyreek Hill has not been there for most of training camp, joint practices, and preseason because of the oblique injury. Before that, during OTAs and minicamp, he was recovering from right wrist surgery. So we have not seen the Tua-Tyreek connection. We know that during training camp, Devon Achane has been out with a calf injury. Austin Jackson, the right tackle, has been out with the foot or lower extremity injury. We had seen him in a walking boot. Fullback Alec Ingold missed a little bit of time with a concussion. Earlier in the offseason program, Aaron Brewer was out. So it's been, we have not seen the starting 11 offense out there. And we know that they also have a couple of new coaches, right? Bobby Slowick, the senior pass game coordinator, Robert Prince, the new wide receivers coach. I do worry a little bit about how disjointed the offense has been. We have not seen that deep threat from the offense. We have not seen that danger from the offense. The Tua to Jalen Waddle connection is as strong as it's ever been. They've done good work on that. Those two, along with Bobby Slowick, Mike McDaniel, Robert Prince, Darrell Bevel, Frank Smith, everybody who's involved in that. But I do worry. You lost Alexander Madison, one of your top running backs. So you're going to have to rely more on Ollie Gordon, your rookie 6th-round pick. We know that the defense is usually ahead of the offense to start seasons, right? And we saw that in training camp. But even this Dolphins secondary, which is, the cornerback position is a real concern. Minkah Fitzpatrick is back there at safety. But we still haven't seen this pass game really take off. I don't know what the Bobby Slowick influence is yet on this pass game because Tyreek hasn't been out there. I do have some concerns here for this offense. How are you feeling about the offense? And let me say this. I do think the Dolphins should win this game. I do think they should beat the Colts. They're 3-0 in openers under Mike McDaniel. The Colts are not any great challenge. Of course, they beat the Dolphins last year, but they should win. But I'm not expecting like a 30-point outburst from this offense. It was 20 points last year in the opener, 20-17, if I recall correctly. What do you think we're going to see from this Dolphins offense, Furones?
Yeah, the Colts last year beat Snoop Huntley and
Tim Boyle.
and Tim Boyle. I was almost blanking on the name of the quarterback who threw out of bounds to rookie Malik Washington and said in the postgame press conference he was throwing to Tyreek. So I'm not sure he knew who he was targeting on that play. One of the short receivers, I don't know, whose name ends with Eek.
That's right.
Exactly. Is who he was throwing to and throwing out of bounds on fourth down.
Right.
With the game on the line. All the memories. But right, yeah, the Dolphins are facing Daniel Jones. I think you have to come away with a week 1 win when you're at close to full strength. I feel like you're never at full strength. The Dolphins for sure are never actually at full strength. But you have to you have this defense, the front seven. Now the Colts have a strong offensive line, especially on the left side of it. So you look out for that and the run game, but. This is one that the Dolphins have to start off strong. And the Colts, they also have a streak of not winning an opener in, I forget how long it goes, but it goes a while. They had one tie, and then all the rest they've lost in a lengthy streak that they have had as well. So, you have to come away with a road win to start off the season. I feel like you need this Dolphins team needs a strong start because I know that second half, once you get I feel like it's around the turn of October to November when you have the Ravens and Commanders in Spain. There's another game, the Buffalo home game as well. Yeah, there's that 3-game stretch where it really gets tough. You really need to stack up a lot of wins before that. And obviously you need to go and win those games too down the road. But it's just I want to see this team in a good position around the midway point as opposed to like last year trying to bounce back from a 2-6 start. And then you're going 2-5. You're going into Buffalo, trying to win that one, and you almost do come away with that victory. But needing that late season surge that ultimately proved not to be enough. But it does concern me that a lot of this offense hasn't been together for training camp. I think we saw the effects of that when the secondary last year wasn't together in camp. This was a camp where Tua and Tyreek were supposed to be regaining that chemistry, and maybe they rebuilt the relationship a little bit on that long 11-day trip. Mike McDaniel had stories of them playing cards together at the hotel with Aaron Brewer and Patrick Paul, and there were all these other stories of. I wrote an article about it in the Sun Sentinel about the guys on the bus rides from downtown Chicago to Lake Forest, Illinois. It's a more than an hour-long bus ride back and forth, so a lot of bonding that occurred on those 11 days in the Midwest, but. This was what Tua was saying. You don't just forget about what Tyreek said at the end of the season and how he took himself out of that game. So as far as that on-field bond, it hasn't been there as much yet because they haven't been together with Tyreek's oblique issue. And obviously Jalen Waddle missed a little bit of time, but he's been back. I like that connection. Devon Achane missing time recently. Ingold, Austin Jackson hasn't been around, coming back now. So you need these pieces together. A lot of them have played together, so I think it shouldn't take too much. But Darren Waller is one that concerns me because he doesn't have that chemistry yet with Tua and the rest of the offense.
And Furones, when we look at the offensive line, let me know if I'm putting too much emphasis on this. But when we saw him against Jacksonville, it was the Dolphins' ones against Jacksonville's twos. And we saw the sacks out there, and Tua couldn't really get going until, I think, the third possession, if I'm remembering correctly. There was no Josh Hines-Allen, no Trayvon Walker. Now, the Dolphins didn't have Austin Jackson either, in fairness to them. But, that was a little bit concerning. You mentioned the left side of that offensive line. I have a lot of faith in them. They're developing players, left tackle Patrick Paul, left guard Jonas Abainaya. Aaron Brewer is money at center. I think James Daniels and Austin Jackson on the right side are going to be money. But if I'm Indy, I'm looking at those two youngsters on the left side, right? And I'm saying, how can we expose them? I'm looking at, your tight end is going to probably be Julian Hill. We know Darren Waller is he's not going to be in sync. If I'm Indy, I'm saying I know that's a young, strong left side of that offensive line. I know Patrick Paul has been a wall, but we can expose them. We can throw stuff at them that they haven't seen because they're relatively inexperienced. Patrick Paul relatively inexperienced. Jonah not experienced at all. if you're Indy and you're attacking this offense, do you focus on those two youngsters? Do you focus on the pass game that's not in sync with like that? I'm thinking I'm going at that left side of the offensive line. I'm testing those youngsters. I'm not playing an 8-man front. I'm going to take away that deep pass. I'm going to jam the receivers at the line of scrimmage so I can disrupt the timing of short and intermediate passes. And let's see what this Dolphins offense has. That's kind of one thing that worries me about this offense not quite being in sync, not having a whole lot of practice time together in joint practices and preseason games.
No, you're right. If you're Indy, you have to look at the left side of the line.
Yep.
A first-year starter in Patrick Paul going into his second season. A rookie at left guard in Jonas Avayi-Naya. So, yeah, that's the side that you're going to come out and you're going to pull twists and stunts maybe on that side.
Yep.
I think one-on-one, Patrick Paul has been strong throughout camp. He's won a lot of one-on-ones against tough pass rushers. So I would feel good about him in that regard. But maybe you throw some stuff at them to confuse the Dolphins' left side of the line. I could totally see that. And you're right on the money, of course, on you don't play the run until the Dolphins force you to respect it. Right. You go out there, the too high shell. You're making sure Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are accounted for. Nothing deep against your defense. And maybe Tua has to find Malik Washington underneath a little bit to open that up for Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. The run game has to come into fruition first and foremost, maybe before you can reignite that connection with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle if you're Tua Tagovailoa. So, that would be, of course, what I do if I'm the Colts until the Dolphins force you out of those looks and make you prove that you can win on the ground and win with the other receivers. Malik Washington, I think, being first and foremost the guy who can make that change in the passing game, where once you start hitting him a few times on some short outs, he converts a key third down and maybe turns something into some yards after the catch. Now all of a sudden, okay, you need to impart some attention on him as well, and then that could open up something for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But if I'm the Colts, my focus is going on them heavily before anything else.
Yep, I agree. Before we go on, let's say what's up to some of the people out there. Roger Allman, Raphael Portwright, Fitzgerald Grass checking in from Naples. Always good to hear from you. Dave Harbor, San Diego. Chris, the and we're off. That's reserved for the All Dolphins with Alan Poupart, but good to have that recognition. JC Norval, H, glad to see all of you here. Finn Spin, the Mad Greek. What's up, baby? Mr. Fanatic, Grandizer 12. We got a lot of the regulars here, baby, before the regular season. Zoe Vegas 75. Good to hear from all of you. Furones, second segment here, let's talk about the front seven. And you know that I'm very excited about this front seven that they've got. Yes, we just talked about Ryan Crowe having some difficulties, but let's move past that because I think that they can move past that. The front seven with Zach Sealer and Kenneth Grant and Benito Jones, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson, Matthew Judon, Jordan Brooks, Terrell Dodson, KJ Britt, Willie Gay Jr. Is it junior or senior? What is Willie Gay, junior or senior? I can't even remember. Willie Gay.
Junior, right?
Yeah, I can't remember. I think he is junior. Anyway, that front seven, look, I'm looking for them. I'm looking for them to do some magical things. You got to get out there and hit Daniel Jones in the mouth, right? Like right away, give this dude, let him know.
Wouldn't that be a penalty?
What's that?
Wouldn't that be a penalty?
Well, not if they don't see it. Not if they don't see it. It would be worth it. It would be worth it anyway. You want to bring Anthony Richardson in the game, right?
Perkins declaring a bounty on Daniel Jones.
Nobody has to get paid. It's not a. It's personal reward.
Not literal hit in the mouth.
Yeah. I got some Buddy Ryan in me, so I can't, the bounty. Yeah, I got some Buddy Ryan in me. I got some the Saints have Bounty Gate, right? I got that in me. So yeah, I got a little bit of that in me. Hit him in the mouth. Who cares? I'll put it out there. Hit him in the mouth, literally. Look, this is a fearsome front seven. I think they can do some big things, but I want to see them flex right off the bat, like right away. y'all aren't getting anything. You think you can get the ball to Michael Pittman, your wide receiver? Guess what? We're not giving Danny Dimes any time to get that ball out of his hand. We're coming at you in waves. I'm anxious to see what Anthony Weaver dials up. And here's what I like about this opener, and it's kind of like what we were saying with Indy attacking the Dolphins offense. If you're Anthony Weaver, and teams in the preseason, we know this, you don't game plan in the preseason. You work on things that you want to work on. So you're not doing opponent specific stuff. This is the first time that Indy is going to see the type of twists and stunts and blitzes that Anthony Weaver throws out there, because it's going to be Indy specific. It's going to be attacking their weaknesses and playing to the Dolphins' strengths. In the preseason, you're just kind of doing general stuff. Do we know how to execute this move or this call or whatever? Now it's going to be opponent specific. We saw what we could do last year. Number 4 defense, if I have my numbers right, number 9 against the run, number 9 against the pass, number 10 in points allowed. They should be better this year. I know the cornerbacks are deficient. We've talked about that a lot, but this front seven, I want to see them just wreak havoc right from the start, and I think they will.
Yeah, certainly capable. I mean, that's what you are pinning your hopes on for this defense. That's why the Dolphins went cheap at cornerback, and including making a very late move in Rasul Douglas. So who was one player that we looked at from all off season as, okay, one of those remaining corners after the draft that Dolphins could go after. Months of interest between the two sides, and finally, hey, you get him on a 1-year, $3 million deal very late in the process. But how quickly can he get into play? So that's why, you need your front seven to dominate, and you want to do it with as little blitzes as possible, so that you can keep those DBs back there. Now, sometimes Anthony Weaver, I could see him going ahead and bringing some of those DBs on pressures, and just as long as you don't force your secondary to be in coverage too long, I think that'll be the main focus in the pass game. And then obviously putting the Colts in difficult passing situations for Daniel Jones. If you stop the run, first and foremost, Jonathan Taylor, that left side of the line, Bernhard Raimann at left tackle, he just got a contract extension, so they're high on him. And Quentin Nelson, of course, is an all-everything left guard. So, very strong left side and experience for the Colts. And we just talked about inexperience left side of the offensive line for the Dolphins. So two opposite ends there, although we are very high on Patrick Paul and Jonas Savaianaya even early in his career. But, the Dolphins should be attacking them. Probably the pass rush, you'll be more hard pressed to get it off the left side, but if you can throw some creativeness at them, then you never know what kind of havoc you could wreak.
Yeah, Roger Allman puts in the chat, what did Chris G really say? Are the Dolphins starting over and over again? I will hit this part of the Chris Grier talk because we're talking about the front seven. I like that Chris Grier said the Matthew Judon signing was linked to the health of Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. That's very smart of the Dolphins. As much as you want to be optimistic about Chubb and Phillips, it was smart to get reinforcements. And now that second wave is Chop Robinson and Matthew Judon. So we're talking front seven, and you can delve into what Chris Grier said also. That great move to reinforce that front seven, because you don't know if Chubb and Phillips are going to be healthy. And if they are, then that's even better, because now you have that second wave of Chop Robinson and Matthew Judon. So nice move. Chris Grier didn't say that they were starting over. He said the goal is to win in 2025. And I really do think that the Matthew Judon acquisition plays into the goal of winning in 2025.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You don't pick up a veteran and former All-Pro if you're rebuilding. Right. He used the word reset. Let's clarify to talk about the financial, the fiscal philosophy for the team which is what you have to do. It's the waves and the cycles of when you go through an actual rebuild like they did in 2019, leading toward the 2020. See all those couple of drafts leading into then going for it, starting 2022 when you trade for Tyreek Hill and you sign Teron Armstead in free agency and you trade for Bradley Chubb at the trade deadline. So you put these veteran pieces together with the pieces you were growing organically through the draft a couple of years. That's when you're going all in. And while you still had your quarterback drafted in 2020 on a rookie contract, then you have that expendable money to go and sign all these veterans, pay out big contracts, Jalen Ramsey the very next offseason. So then once Tua gets his big quarterback second contract, that big money, now you don't have all that available to you. You see it with the Bengals have to go through it with Joe Burrow, who was taken in the same draft. The Chargers are going through it with Justin Herbert going into Josh Allen and the Bills. Once he got paid, and actually a more economical contract for the Bills when that happened. Obviously, every year these contracts just skyrocket with the increase of the salary cap year to year. But the Bills had to go through it, and then very much so ahead of the previous offseason when they had those runs of veteran cuts, one of which was Jordan Poyer, who then ended up on the Dolphins, and then just recently rejoined the Bills on the practice squad and said that he keeps receipts from his 2024 season. That's a whole topic for another day. You can watch that video on my X account. I did post it there for your consumption. If you want to get irritated by what Jordan Poyer is saying now as he returns to Buffalo after a down year with the Dolphins.
Yeah. Nice job by you posting that. And by the way, Poyer with the I keep receipts. I remember Robert Saleh saying that as in back in his days with coach of the Jets. I keep receipts. Okay. Nice job, Robert.
Everyone's saying it, Perk. You're not.
No, I know. I'm just saying in the AFC East, I don't know that it matters unless you're.
Tua said it one time. Remember Tua said it in the interview with Michael Smith before the Sunday Night Football game against Philly, 2023, detailing his time with Flo as opposed to maybe I'm confusing it. Maybe it was with Taylor.
Maria Taylor.
Maria Taylor.
Yeah.
So, one of those. He mentioned he keeps receipts.
And the rest of the AFC East is going, well, who cares, right? I don't, unless you're Buffalo, if you keep receipts in the AFC East, who cares, right? So we'll and then Jordan Poyer, I'm not too worried about him keeping receipts also.
Yeah. It's more of a recent phrase too, Perk. Maybe you're old school. I think you keep the physical receipts from the purchases, probably more so than
that's exactly
than the term.
Thanks for pointing out that I'm old, Furones. Once again, I appreciate that.
Hey, every now and then I make sure to keep my physical receipts as well. Especially when you leave a tip somewhere at a bar or a restaurant, you want to make sure on the back end that they inserted the correct tip.
That's right. Yeah, you don't want to fall for that South Beach thing where they put in the 15% and you leave an extra tip. Check that receipt. Yeah, check that. Keep it and check it. Yeah. Right. What's up to Zovegas 75? What's up to Mark? Checking in from New Mexico. Our boy Mark. Ocean Breeze Detail from LA. Sean Heller. Ike Kerr. Let's see, a bunch of people here. Zachary North from Austin, Texas, man. I like this. Little Quinn Ewers territory. By the way, Zachary North says, I appreciate you guys. Which line do you think is more important to team success, defensive or offensive line? We're talking about the front seven right here. And so we could say, if you want to say unball, I guess the defensive front plus the edge rushers, I guess you could say that's a defensive line. Offensive line, always important. You know what, though? I'm going to surprise you here. I'm going to go defensive line because that's where the strength of your team is. If they let you down, you're screwed. You're screwed. Now, the offensive line would be a huge disappointment after, you've inserted Patrick Paul, your second-round pick, another second-round pick, Jonas Savai-Naya, and James Daniels, your high-priced free agent. They're crucially important. You've got to protect Tua, all of that. But I think this is a year where the defense could surpass the offense, Furones. I'm gonna say to Zachary North's question, and this is going to be unpopular, I'm going to say I think defensive line is more important to team success. Start the onslaught, pound me. Go ahead.
Wow. Well, defense to surpass the offense, considering this secondary.
Yep.
You have the pass rush, but the pass rush has to get home almost every play to count on it. Overcoming the secondary, which is unproven. We'll call it unproven. I was on with Big O earlier, and we settled on we're going to call the secondary unproven. We're not yet going to trash them. Rasul Douglas may need some time, but you got him. Jack Jones had training camp. He's come along since Amon-Ra St. Brown cooked him, his words, in that joint practice with the Lions. Jason Marshall Jr. is a rookie who looks like is going to be counted on to start in the slot as the nickel. And Storm Duck is still a second-year undrafted player who you're counting on to be your top corner. And, we love everything we see out of Storm Duck, but that's a lot. That's a lot to put on Storm Duck. That's a lot to put on the defense. But I'm going to say the offensive line is most important because that's where you have the most to gain. You have preseason rankings talking about Dolphins have the 30th best offensive line, even after they invested in the offensive line, as Chris Greer said he would with your highest priced free agent was James Daniels at left guard right guard, and you traded up in the second round. So that's an investment of extra draft picks plus a high draft pick in itself in your left guard. So improving at the two guard positions. You had already invested the year before in your left tackle of the future when you took Patrick Paul in the 2024 second round. Now Teron Armstead retires. Now you've got him in place there. Austin Jackson was a first-round pick, and Aaron Brewer was a key free agent just the previous offseason. So that's an investment now. And maybe you don't have the depth right now, and maybe Liam Eichenberg and Andrew Meyer, their return down the road could help with the depth. So you want the starting group to hold up. So you're not seeing Larry Borum or a Daniel Brunskill or a Keon Smith get thrown into the fire there. Kendall Lamb, he's reliable, but he's also getting up there and coming off some back issues, was just cut by the Philadelphia Eagles. So while we love him, you don't want to see him out there just yet as he returns to the Dolphins. So I'm going to say the offensive line because that's where you have the most to gain. I feel pretty confident that the defensive line will give you what you need. And then you really need it from the O-line to lift yourself and get the offense back over the hump that we saw created so many challenges in 2024 of not being able to run the football consistently, which would then open up the biggest thing for the offense, which is getting the ball downfield to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
All right, we want to say what's up to Green Glow Doc Light, Marcellus Temple. Good to see Marcellus Temple back in here. The Dolphins pod with Matt Newton. True Blazer here. Who else do we have in here? We've got I just saw something I wanted to say, Sue. Oh, look at this. Shung Chu Shung from Curacao. Fins up. Like to see that, baby. Like to see that. Let's see here. What I saw something here that I wanted to get into, and I just lost it. Zoe Vegas 75 says Tua is a franchise quarterback, just not a star or superstar quarterback yet. So, what are your thoughts on that, Furones? I've said I think Tua is a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. Tua is a above average quarterback. I don't think that Tua is elite, but I do think that you can win a Super Bowl. I've said this also with Tua and Mike McDaniel, but they've got to change the style. They've got to become a more balanced team, not so reliant on the deep pass. Where how would you classify Tua? How would you define him? What phrase defines him, do you think? Is he elite? Is he Pro Bowl caliber? Is he a franchise quarterback? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think you give a quarterback a second contract, then you're counting on him to be your franchise quarterback, but also with the caveat that you need to see him consistently stay healthy and not just 1 year and then go back to missing time. You can't have a franchise quarterback always unavailable or often unavailable, as we've seen missing 6 games last year. Your season went awry in large part because of that. I mean, they went 8 with all the challenges that they had, all the difficulties that they underwent, and through the season. They were 8-9, coming back from a 2-6 start, and you think about what they would have been if Tua was healthy for a full season. I mean, they would have been right back in the playoffs easily.
Yep.
If you have Tua for those 6 games, yeah, you're easily in the playoffs. And I mean, you still had a chance week 18 for crying out loud. And you know, you needed help and you didn't get it from the Broncos game against the Chiefs.
Yep.
So what was the original question? I just
it was Tua is a franchise quarterback, just not a star or superstar quarterback yet. Do you agree with that? Can you win a Super Bowl with Tua?
I would say you can, yeah. You need a lot, like any other team. You need a lot around you that's right. I mean, I think Patrick Mahomes can uplift a lot of other deficiencies elsewhere. You know, Josh Allen can do that. You know, whoever you put out there with Josh Allen, he can go do that. I think Lamar Jackson is going to go do a lot for you, and him and Josh Allen haven't risen to the level of getting through the AFC and into the Super Bowl. But you know, these are guys who can do a lot more with a lot less. Joe Burrow, of course, could. I mean, he had no defense last year.
Yeah, right.
Granted, yeah, that wasn't a playoff team. But
Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't tell me Tua cannot win a Super Bowl. And he is obviously Pro Bowl caliber. He has a Pro Bowl to his credit, and was, you know, on the verge another year. I mean, he's led the league in passing yards one year, led the league in yards per attempt another season, in quarterback rating, completion percentage last season, despite how things didn't go right in terms of the downfield passes and his availability. Hey, I put the poll out. I put a poll out, and mostly Dolphins fans are going to respond, of course, because most of my following would be Miami-based Dolphins fans. But I put the options as elite, above average, average, and below average, and most people had him in the above average category. Now, I said among starting quarterbacks, so that would be if you're talking about 32 starting quarterbacks. And I feel like when you go through the process of actually ranking them, then you might get into like, and remember, we're including availability, which is where he drops a little bit. Then you might get into the 15 range with Tua when you actually go through the exercise. So then that kind of teeters on now you're talking about average among starting quarterbacks. So when you include availability, if you just say Tua's going to be healthy for a full season, then he's obviously above average. But when you throw in availability, then you get close to that average range among starting quarterbacks. But a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback when he's available, and one who could lead you to a Super Bowl if he's got the right pieces around him and everything else is working right.
Yeah, see, he's got to have the right pieces around him. You know, my big complaint with the Dolphins is they can't beat playoff caliber teams. I harp on that probably way too much. The last 2 years, the Dolphins are 2-10 against playoff teams. 2023, they were 1-6. Last year, they were 1-4. Tua has started all 12 of those games. He's got 15 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Now, at the same time, as I always say, neither Waddle nor Tyreek has a 100-yard game against a playoff team. You've got to get this offense a run game. You've got to get Tua more help. I always say this is bigger than Tua. Joe C. chimes in and says Tua is only a franchise quarterback if he buys a McDonald's. Raphael Courtwright says, I agree with Joe C. Vegas 75, y'all got jokes. I just, Tua is always interesting, and I saw that, and so I figured that I would, kind of entertain that. Yeah, Tua, always Tua. What's up to Sean Tunsil? What's up to Robert Boos? Super Boom Shack? What's going on? Wow, Super Boom Shack. 25 years since a playoff win. They suck. Wow. Let's see.
How about Sean, this news? We got some news while we've been on Adam's show reporting that the Patriots are releasing Jabril Peppers. So that week 2 opponent for the Dolphins. Yeah, Peppers has been a big part of that defense. So Mike Vrabel, changing course there. No, they still got Kyle Duggar back there. Right, I haven't done my Patriots prep yet, but obviously, Dolphins play them every year. Well, home opener, that's against them. Yeah. So.
Yeah. We're gonna see him. We're gonna see Stephon Diggs and Drake May. That's who I'm most concerned about, actually. Shake Money, what's up, baby? I saw you. I saw you. Michael Jordan of Beat Writers. He called me that on a different podcast, but good to see you. Look, before we go any further, it is time for our most exciting segment of this show. One of the best segments of this 4-segment show. I promoted you. It is the Furones bonus.
Oh, the Furones bonus.
I love it. I love it, baby. All right, Furones. This week we are going to ask you: Are you worried about the key players being new to this team? You mentioned Rasul Douglas at cornerback, Darren Waller at tight end, Riley Patterson at kicker. We've also got Jack Jones at another cornerback position. Are you worried about some of these guys on a different level? You know, you mentioned Kendall Lamb earlier. He could be called a pressed into action. Jeff Wilson was added, but really with Rasul and Darren Waller and Riley Patterson, what are you thinking? Can they come in and contribute right away?
Yeah, the biggest concern, because you're always going to have turnover in the NFL. There's always newcomers from year to year. So it's not so much that they are just new faces. It's how little time a lot of these players have been with the team and guys that you might be counting on to play significant roles throughout the season. So, I mean, Darren Waller is just getting into his first few practices now. It was only the other day he said that Perkins already shaking his head over that. I know. It's hard to believe that. Remember, this was where you had your lone Pro Bowler last year, was the pass-catching tight end in Jonnu Smith. And so the replacement immediately after, the next day, right, or was it even the same day? One of those, Darren Waller coming out of retirement. That was the corresponding move to not only – now you got Minkah Fitzpatrick back from the Steelers in the move that sent Jalen Ramsey over there, but you also had to send Jonnu Smith out over to Pittsburgh, and Darren Waller was your replacement and listed number 1 on the depth chart, the team's unofficial depth chart, before he even practiced. While he was on PUP, just getting back into football shape. Yeah, he said he just got his first competitive reps against the defense just the other day. So it's been a very slow ramp up to only have him working out on the side for the entire preseason. He went through the motions of a pregame routine at Hard Rock Stadium in his uniform and his pads, pregame warm-ups, but then there was no intention of ever letting him play because he had to practice. He hadn't really even taken a practice rep against an opponent. You definitely don't expose him to tackling if you haven't had him do that. So it's a quick turnaround from never practicing to now having to get thrown out on the field. I want to see what the plan is with him because I don't think you're counting on him to really take the Jonnu Smith type of snaps in his first game as a Dolphin. It might just be a handful. I would be surprised if it's more than 10 or 12 in his first game back. If even that, I think you probably count on Tanner Conner, who's on this roster, as your pass-catching tight end. Obviously, Julian Hill, you might want him to give you an uptick in pass-catching production as he's a blocking tight end. Maybe he takes a stride in that regard, but you're going to need it elsewhere from either a Nick Westbrook-Akine, who we haven't seen yet, connect with Tua, or Malik Washington, be that complement to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in the passing game. So it could come from elsewhere. But I am concerned that a newcomer hasn't practiced with this team to that level. Now Rasul Douglas, who is now becomes your key cornerback signing. He has only been brought on within a week of practice prep beginning for the Colts. So within the couple of weeks that it takes. And, he was saying that just at practice, his first 2 practices this week, he was running around not knowing where to go. It's going to take some time. And I just wrote about Rasul Douglas this morning in the Sun Sentinel, so you can read more about him coming in and how he actually knew Minkah Fitzpatrick going way back to their days together in North Jersey as prospects. So that's actually a little connection that Rasul Douglas has that can maybe get him up to speed. But Minkah himself is in his first camp back with the Dolphins, so it's not like he's just been around this franchise for the past several years, and Anthony Weaver and whatnot. So them and I'm also Riley Patterson. Hey, he's got some experience in this league kicking. He's done it for different teams, so he's kind of used to it at this point. But you don't have Jason Sanders, who is on a significant streak. I can't remember the number off the top of my head.
27.
27 consecutive makes that he ended last season. So that's an active streak going into the start of this season. You don't have him now because of the hip injury and Riley Patterson. I know a lot of teams have done this before where, you bring a kicker off the street and he goes in and he does what he does. He makes kicks, and it's going to be an indoor environment at Lucas Oil Stadium. I believe it will be. I mean, they rarely open the roof there, so we do have to check on that before the game. But so good kicking conditions for him, but still, now you're worried if there's a high leverage situation, big pressure kick that he has to make. And he's just brand new with this team and has to get thrown into that mix when you otherwise would have Jason Sanders, who has been reliable dating back to most of last season.
So, Furones, you just named a key player on offense, a key player on defense, and a key player on special teams. Does it make you wonder what's that?
All three phases.
Yeah, all three phases. So does it make you wonder what the Dolphins are doing here between Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel? Or do you see the reasons for all of them? Riley Patterson couldn't be avoided. Rasul Douglas could have been avoided. You could have signed him early. You could have signed him or drafted a cornerback. And then Darren Waller, you got to get this dude on the field. So do you understand, or are you scratching your head? I'm scratching my head at cornerback and tight end. I understand Riley Patterson, but these other two, what the heck?
Yeah. Now, Rasul Douglas did explain yesterday he had family issues going on, and the Dolphins were understanding of that. So that's why that move was delayed, even though there was so much constant contact for the months since. So clearly he was the target that whole time, and they were in communication, and eventually he was going to be brought on once he was ready with whatever he had going on personally. So there was that on that front. Obviously not ideal. Now you have been working Jack Jones, who himself has only had not even the whole training camp. He joined during training camp. We already saw Mike Hilton, just like Jack Jones. He didn't even make this team as a veteran that many thought could just get thrown in there and he'd be the same player he was with the Bengals and bring the physicality in the slot. Well, the Dolphins did learn, though, that they have Jason Marshall who could play that position, even though he never has. In the past, he's only been exclusively a boundary corner. But that in itself is also a concern. You have a first-time slot corner playing an NFL game after just a couple of weeks of getting thrown into that mix. And so that's going to be a challenge for him, something that I wonder if the Colts will try to exploit with their receiving core, whoever they do line up in front of him in that nickel, but in that slot. And Darren Waller, of course, that one has been perplexing the whole time. But we'll see if let's say the Dolphins can only get 10 to 12 snaps out of him the first weeks 1 and 2, and then he slowly progresses to eventually getting half the snaps and does so free of injury, then we will concede the Dolphins did it right. The slow ramp up for Darren Waller, it kept him on. Who knows if they try to make him a starting tight end that sees 40, 50 offensive snaps and is getting run out there, getting targeted 7-8 times immediately week 1, and then he gets injured week 2 or 3. Well, we'll never know. But I would say if he avoids injury, then we can concede the Dolphins had the right approach. But if, let's say, they lose some of these early games without having that presence, and then maybe either he still gets injured down the road or just never grows into being that reliable extra target for your big red zone target, the role that you want him playing for Tua, then we're going to look back and question the whole approach.
Yep. I agree. What's up to EJ Barrow? What's up to Jordan? What's up to Pretty Boy, a regular. Good to see you in here. Furones, let us move on to our final segment, and it kind of borders on what you were just talking about, but this one is, what do you expect to see from the youngsters and the draftees early in the season? And I bring this up because, as we know, you mentioned before the reset that Chris Grier mentioned, and it's more of a financial reset as opposed to a reset where we expect to win 6 games. But along with that, they did say, and Mike McDaniel first mentioned this at the owners' meetings, that they're going to rely more on draftees and youngsters this season. Chris Grier said that it's not sustainable when you go for that win now thing, relying on 30-somethings and trading first-round picks for Tyreek and Bradley Chubb, that's a limited window. There's a lot of these draftees and youngsters from the last couple of seasons. Chuck Robinson, Patrick Paul, Kenneth Grant, Jonas Savaiinaya, Storm Duck, Jason Marshall Jr., Ollie Gordon, Zeke Biggers, Malik Washington, Taj Washington. Are you going to be able to rely on all of these guys early in the season? And if not, these guys are going to play key roles in Indy against New England. And then we're ramping up to that Buffalo game, which I'm not overlooking the first 2, but you kind of expect them to win those first 2 and be sharp for Thursday night at Buffalo. A tough ask. Are these youngsters going to be ready? I mean, you've got some key positions, right? At Storm Duck and Jason Marshall Jr., that's 2 of your 3 corners, right? And Malik is going to be counted on as a 3rd wide receiver. Your defensive line rotation, I don't think I mentioned Jordan Phillips in there, but along with Zeke Biggers and Kenneth Grant, Patrick Paul and Jonah, Chop is the one that we can count on, right? Because we saw it last year. Ollie Gordon, if Devon Achane is only at like 75, 80%, can you rely on these youngsters early in the season? Let's say the first 3 or 4 games. Can they start off slow like Chop did last year? Can you afford that?
No, I don't want to see these guys start off slow. Chop, I think we can rely on. I think we can rely on the pass rush.
Yep.
I think he starts to prove setting the edge against the run. He says it. I want to see it. I want to see it. If they go after you, let's see you set that edge so that then you can get out there and rush the passer. But this is life in the NFL when you do have to pivot and reset financially to then building through the draft again while you're still trying to win. So, this is that balance you're trying to find is, yes, we're still trying to win if you're the Dolphins, but you now need to go back to building through the draft and bringing in these young pieces, getting younger. So with that comes the possibility of unreliability for their early games and at the start of their career. So especially when they're playing key roles. So now some of them are playing roles where youngsters can come in right away and play. But now for some DBs, there's a little bit of a mix. Say some of them, you go out there and cover, and you know what to do. You cover your guy, but then there's also possibly complexities in defensive scheme and different coverages that you need to rely on these youngsters to be able to execute. I do think like a Storm Duck, he is a smart player that I would trust to have his assignment down, things like that. Kenneth Grant on the line, that's sort of a job where, all right, you know what you got to do. You got to move people in the interior of the defensive line. So you can put a youngster out there who's big and physical and has the athleticism and doesn't necessarily require all that much experience. And he can go and get the job done for you there, especially when he's alongside a savvy vet like a Zach Sealer who can help that unit as well. But those are the potential bumps along the road that you do have with it when you do get younger. So that's what it is. And then you hope a lot of these guys, they have the right mindset. Like I mentioned, Storm Duck. I think Patrick Paul is the same way. I love Ollie Gordon's enthusiasm. So I think, he's got the ball. He's going to be a fierce competitor and go and be physical, which is what you want in the run game. As he'll be immediately thrust into RB2 duties and maybe even a significant workload if they're still kind of limiting how much Devon Achane handles with that calf injury, as he still hasn't returned to practice, even though everyone's saying he should be ready for week 1.
Yeah, and Furones, as I look at these names, I think it puts more pressure on the coaching staff as opposed to the players. The coaching staff and the veteran players, they're the ones who have to cover for these youngsters. They're not all going to hit in the first 6 weeks. Some of these guys are going to have rookie or young player struggles. That's just the way it is in pro sports and the NFL specifically. Youngsters are youngsters. They haven't seen a lot of this stuff. I don't know how much you can scheme up, covering for Storm Duck and Jason Marshall, or scheme up covering for Jonah and Patrick Paul. They've got to grow up, but this is what you chose as Chris Greer, the GM, and Mike McDaniel, the head coach. You put yourselves in this situation. And so to me, more of the pressure is on them. Like, some of these veteran players that you got have to cover for these youngsters. I'm including Darren Waller. He's got to help cover, right? He's got to help cover for whoever the slot receiver is, Malik Washington. And you expect, look, the number 3 receiver last year was Jonnu Smith. He's gone. The number 4 with his 88 receptions. The number 4 receiver was Devon Achane with his 78. He might be limited. So Waller, you've got to step up. Ollie Gordon is back there also. You need some of these veterans to step up. You need the veteran edge rushers to step up and cover for what could be a learning process for Kenneth Grant and Zeke Biggers and Jordan Phillips, right? So you do need some of these coaches and these veteran players to step up, because I do think there's going to be a learning curve. If I'm one of these other coaches, I'm attacking Shane Steichen. I'm attacking these youngsters. Mike Vrabel, I'm attacking these youngsters. Sean McDermott, I'm attacking these youngsters. I'm going to find out what their vulnerabilities are. And there's not really a whole lot the Dolphins can do about this. You can't be unrealistic with your expectations for these players. You've got to scheme up some of this stuff, and then the veteran players have to cover. But these youngsters, man, I've got to see it, and I have faith. Both of us have predicted 9 wins for the Dolphins this season, and so to get those 9 wins, baby, you better beat Indy and New England. You can't afford a split, because let's face it, as we enter the first 3 games, that Buffalo game is a loss. I mean, it's a Thursday night game on the road. So you're right. I mean, these youngsters have got to grow up quickly.
Yeah, Thursday nights on the road in the NFL, those you chalk them up as losses, unless if you're the Buffalo Bills coming to Miami like they did last year, week 2. In that case, you beat them by multiple scores. So the Dolphins going to Buffalo on a short rest and traveling. Now, the one advantage they do have is that they don't face Buffalo in the cold. So there is that. And obviously, you could always manage a little bit when you have those 2 games in. It turns into 5 days. So a little bit there, but still, it's a bigger challenge when you're traveling.
Yeah. Listen, Raphael Courtwright says rookie Jordan Phillips is a hidden gem. Hopefully it shows on the field. Jordan Phillips is a guy who was talked up a lot at the draft, a 5th-round pick who has 3rd-round talent. I didn't really buy it, but I've seen some promising stuff from Jordan Phillips. Is there any of those youngsters that you see coming in immediately and you think, all right, this dude is going to be a hit right away? I like what I've seen. I'll tell you who I'd like right away is Jason Marshall Jr., which is an odd pick considering he's never played the position. He's told us that at nickel or slot, but I like the way that he attacks. We've seen this from guys going back to Bobby McCain and up through Kader Kohu, young slot players who they found who can come in here and be good immediately. He's the guy that I'm really looking at ahead of Jonah, ahead of Kenneth Grant, ahead of Jordan Phillips. I like ahead of Ollie Gordon even. I like what I see now, not ahead of Chop, because we've seen Chop. We're talking 1st and 2nd year players. Let's say after Chop, I'm thinking Jason Marshall Jr. is the guy.
Wow. Recency bias much?
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
Because I'd like to wait till we see it against like an elite slot receiver.
I hear you. I hear
before, you. Instead of maybe like some backups he's facing in preseason games and such. So I think he has the tools. I think we've seen it, but boy, let's pump the brakes a little bit. To rely on him that much, it's a lot.
It is, and I'll add this. That nickel slot position. A lot of these guys will tell you it's tough because you don't have a sideline to help you out, and there's a lot of traffic going through there that you've got to negotiate. So I've talked to Cater about this. I've talked to Bobby McCain about this. As young players, it's a lot. It's a lot, but I like what I've seen from Jason Marshall Jr. Maybe I'm overhyping the kid, but I like what I've seen from him.
Yeah, which is why it's a surprising pick because
it is.
Because if think about it, if you were the Dolphins facing an opponent, the rookie 5th-round pick is expected to play the nickel and cover the slot for the first time in his playing career in week 1. I mean, you're going after him. You're putting your best receivers in that slot. You're going to line him up in there and then see what he could do.
Yep.
Kudos to him if he handles it. But before I put him above, now, Malik Washington, I think, would be above him as far as on the other side, playing the slot receiver. So I'll throw in him if we're talking about first and second year players. So, with Chop Robinson, Malik Washington, who has a lot of experience doing that role. Patrick Paul, it's also a big ask for him, but I think he's just done it in a greater sample size as well because we're going off of camp and preseason. So the sample size is very small of Jason Marshall succeeding in the slot. So it's a lot to ask and a lot to say of him. But hey, if it's some huge revelation that the Dolphins just discovered in a couple of weeks of camp, then hey, throw the parade right now.
So you're calling BS. Just say it, bro. You're calling BS on my pick. Just say it. You're being nice. Just say it.
Because I like what Jason Marshall Jr. is doing, covering the slot as the nickel. I think he has the tools, but let's see it first against some true NFL starting slot receivers before we crown the kid.
Yeah, no, that's usually what I do, but I'm going outside of myself here. Pretty Boy is we're talking about the youngsters. He says learning curve true. These are bad teams we play first though outside of Buffalo. Here's what I would say to that. New England, okay, they won 4 games last year, and I know that they're the darling pick of the NFL to be the most improved team. Indy won 8 games. Now, they've got some major quarterback issues between Danny Jones and Anthony Richardson, right? But I don't know that, you're on the road at Indy. Being on the road is tough. And then New England is a divisional team that knows you. Mike Vrabel knows you as the former Tennessee coach, right? He ruined your season a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he's had his way against the Dolphins, yeah.
Right, exactly. So I understand what you're saying, Pretty Boy, but I don't know if I can could write them off that easily. I just want to I think you've got to give those teams respect, I've got to see a little bit more. Let's see here. What else have we got here? Finn Spin is talking about, I guess, Jordan Phillips. He ran a 4.6 and was 335 pounds. Maybe that's why we haven't seen it since then. Not many of those guys on the planet, but we're close this year. Let's see here. What else have we got? Marcellus Temple says Danny Dimes not winning 8 games. That's true. Here's what I would say to that. When you lost at Indy last year, you lost to Anthony Richardson, and you remember that Alec Ingold and Raheem Mostert had key fumbles lost in that game. So the Dolphins, here's what I will say to you, Furones, and I'll throw this to you. We know they've got to improve their turnover margin. Mike McDaniel values that stat. Last year, they were -5. In the 3-year McDaniel era, they are -10 in turnover margin. Do you trust Anthony Weaver's defense to improve on that? And how key do you think the turnover margin is going to be early in the season when we look at these first 3 games even?
Sure. I think it was calculated for the Dolphins to go after Jack Jones, a corner who will gamble a little bit more. Rasul Douglas, same way. He's had his interceptions. Intercepted Tua at Hard Rock Stadium in that Christmas game 2022 when he was with the Packers. He even said, "Hey, I've had my success at Hard Rock Stadium." So he threw a little jab on the way in.
Nice.
To the Dolphins. He has a lot of success at Hard Rock Stadium and playing the Dolphins between the Bills and that game against with the Packers 2022. Wow. So, I think while these moves weren't big moves in the secondary, and yet Minkah Fitzpatrick is a plus to have now at safety. He's that leader of the secondary, the way Jalen Ramsey was as a corner the previous 2 years. I think it was calculated to go for guys who will go for the football and can turn opponents over. And I think you need that in unison with the pass rush to make sure that the corners aren't in coverage for a long time, because if they are first read corners who are going to bite at that first move, then you don't want a double move beating them if the quarterback has enough time to watch that develop. So it's going to work in unison. That pass rush really needs to consistently get to the quarterback so that wide receivers don't have time for double moves against these corners who do like to bite and gamble on the first move they see.
Yep. All right, Furones, we're going to end it there. We've run a little bit late, but, we both love talking Dolphins. We love seeing our audience out there. We love talking to everybody. Hey, folks, we're going to be back Tuesday at noon. That's going to start us on our regular program with regular season form. Come back Tuesday at noon. We're going to talk a lot more Dolphins. Love to see the chat just fired up here. I love to see this. This is good. This is very, very good. It's going to be a fun season. Join us next Tuesday at noon. Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. We'll see you then.